Hello Orchid friends, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching my video, my channel is all about orchids. From what orchids I have, how I grow them, my thoughts on certain orchid topics, to what orchids in my collection are blooming, etc. So if you want to follow along my orchid hobby adventure, please consider subscribing to my channel and turn on the notification.
It's Keiki time again, but this time we're talking about an overweight Keiki. It's so heavy that it snapped, but we'll see what happened, what I did, and also how it has progressed since then. But before we do that, let's go back in time so I can show you a little bit about some of the progress that it was making leading up to this unfortunate point, or maybe fortunate. So if we go back in time, end of 2018, this Keiki had 3 leaves, and then I think it had maybe 4 or 5 roots. It was growing fine, and I didn't actually care for it all that much because it was attached to the mother plant. So it was just growing, but at some point I noticed that at the bottom of the Keiki it was also trying to put out something. I don't know if it was gonna be like another second, like a little spike from the Keiki, or it was just trying to put out another mini baby. I don't know. So it was just a lot was going on at the bottom of that particular plant. But then, you know, as it grew larger and larger, this flower spike, at first it was about at a 45 angle going upwards, but now it was almost to a point where, you know, it was basically almost parallel to the floor. But then so I decided that I was gonna just prop it up. So I did, and then it was working just fine for quite some time. And then the mother plant, both the mother and the baby were doing their thing, growing roots and leaves. It was looking really good on top of my growing rack in my old environment. And every morning I will look at it, and I know that it's getting enough sunlight, and everything was doing pretty well, right? And this is just a shot of 2 of my Keikis from 2 different plants side by side. So it was doing really good. And at the time, I believe it was also growing quite a bit of aerial roots for from the mother, and because I know, because I planted this in semi-hydro a little higher than usual, because the mother originally already had a lot of roots inside the media, so I had to plant it a little higher. And because this orchid was having quite a bit of roots, and then quickly I know that this orchid, I saw this orchid growing roots into the reservoir toward the bottom of the cup. So I know this orchid was doing fine, so I went ahead and let the roots grow outside the pot. So and then it became one of my crazy roots orchid that I have talked about a few times in my channel. Anyway, back to this plant. So fast forward to mid-May 2019. By that time, this orchid was already much bigger. I think it had 4 or 5 leaves. And this is what happened. It became so large, so heavy, with many more roots, that that the flower spike, or I guess the spike, just snapped in half at the place where I had the clip. So I had to decide if I want to remove this Keiki or what. And after some research, some soul searching, I decided to use a longer stick and just continue to prop it up, because I believe, based on what I saw anyway, I believe where it bent, where the flower spike was benting, did not completely snapped off. So I believe I prop it up. Hopefully inside the tissue will reconnect, and I can tell you I was right. So I used this longer stick and prop it up. Ever since then, the Keiki was growing just fine and still is. And the reason I think it worked, because now we're at September 2019, the keiki was still looking fine. All the roots from this keiki is in the air, so airy roots. So if the flower spike is somehow snapped in half, this keiki would have had shown signs of dehydration, right? But no, it's continuing to grow, and now it has 5 leaves and lots of roots. So this is the point where you really could clip it off and plant it separately, but I'm not going to do that, and I will tell you the reasons why. But for now, it's doing just fine, so I'm really happy that I did not separate it, because, okay, reason number 1. If the baby is with the mother, they're connected, you are actually providing this keiki with higher chance of survival and probably reaching maturity faster. Number 2, I really don't want to use another extra space for the same plant unless it's a plant that just has very, very interesting characteristics. Like, if it's fragrant, then probably I'll propagate it. But otherwise, if I have enough vertical space, I will continue to grow this orchid this way, right? Another reason is that, again, this has to do with how I think keiki's ROI is low. Because if you separate it out, it may take this keiki, 3, 4, 5 years to reach maturity, to be able to bloom. And if I don't know what I'm doing before this keiki even becomes mature, I may kill it already. So by leaving it on the spike with the mother, I'm really trying to essentially save it. Because keikis, for example, would require more humid and also more moisture in the media. And because of that, you may have to create a sub-climate, sub-environment just for that. Or you just and also ventilation, because when you're dealing with high humidity and high moisture, higher saturation for the media, you do have to provide more ventilation. And so to me, that's a little troublesome. So I really just want to keep it simple. Unfortunately, where it's snapped, as you can see here, there is still some connected tissue, and this is exactly what I saw, and that's why I thought, I'm just gonna use a longer stick to prop it up. And I'm so thankful that it worked, because at the time, I think the keiki was still small. I mean, just big enough to be removed, but I think, say, if I remove it now, I think it will have a better chance of survival. If I don't want to provide additional keiki care, right? So yeah, this is what happened, and I use a longer stick to prop it up, and now I use 2 clips to stabilize it. So it's looking pretty good, and I think I'll continue, like I said, to grow it the way it is. But I do think that I need to repot this orchid, the mother, because I'm seeing that some roots have rotted away since, and I think it may be a good idea to pot all the mother's area roots into the media, so that I can ensure that this plant, or these 2 plants, would have enough moisture and nutrients. If this were your plant, would you separate the keiki, or would you repot? Let me know what you think. And if you do want to share, feel free to leave me a comment at the bottom of the video in the comment section below.
This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video. Ciao!